The alarm bell rang 3 times. This never happened. 3 knocks meant only one thing in the Northern Palace. Forbidden magic had been detected. The corridors burst into motion. Guards rushed by, doors locked, ancient symbols began to glow on the walls. I froze in the middle of the East Gallery, tray in hand, my heart pounding too fast. It wasn't possible. I hadn't done anything. But the seal on my throat burned as if it were being forcibly ripped out. "Bring the mute maid," ordered a voice from the council. Now! The ground seemed to disappear beneath my feet. If they took me to the verification chamber, it would all be over. The vote. The silence. My brothers. 8 years of restraint reduced to ashes by a single mistake I didn't even know I'd made. I was pulled by the arm, the tray falling with a crash, glasses shattered, wine spilled like blood on the white marble. "She was near the royal hall," someone said. "She always is." "Too much of a coincidence," another replied. The chamber doors opened, and that's when I felt it. The bond. Strong, brutal, alive. The air changed density, as if the palace itself had bowed. His scent permeated everything. Iron, fire, and storm. King Alpha was there, not looking at me, yet. "Begin the test," ordered the elder. A symbol was activated on the ground. Ancient magic rose, creeping upwards, searching for lies, for hidden pacts, for truths sealed by force. My whole body panicked. If I screamed, the seal would break. If I resisted, the magic would tear me apart from the inside. If I fainted, they would have time to investigate. And then, for the first time in 8 years, King Alpha spoke to me. "Stop." They all froze. He took a step forward, his eyes finally landing on me with genuine attention. "That maid," he said slowly, "doesn't belong in this ritual." The silence that followed was worse than any punishment, because the most powerful man in the kingdom had just noticed, the only person who could never be seen. Before we continue, let me ask you a quick favor. Check if you're already subscribed to the channel and tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. I always like to know how far these stories reach. They let me go when the symbol on the ground faded. No one apologized. No one explained anything. They just went back to breathing as if I had been an object removed from the wrong path. I also started breathing again, little by little. I didn't bother looking up. It wasn't worth it. People like me don't get answers. We get orders. And sometimes, we get punishments that nobody registers. I am that type of person, the one who walks through the corridors without leaving a trace, the one who hears secrets she can never repeat, the one who survives because no one considers it necessary to eliminate her yet. Being mute helps. Not just because I don't speak, but because people forget that I can understand. My silence is not a disability. It's a choice. A choice I made 8 years ago, when I understood that my voice would cost me more than I could afford. Here, I am not a woman. I am a function. I carry things. I clean things. I disappear when the alphas enter. I'm not compared to other maids because comparison requires a minimum of equality. I'm measured by how much I get in the way. The Alpha King speaking to me was a statistical error, something that shouldn't have happened and won't happen again. Men like him don't notice women like me. And even if they did, they wouldn't choose me. I am not noble. I am not beautiful enough to compensate for my lack of bloodline. I have no recognized family. I have no voice. And above all, I have no right to wish for anything. I accept this because acceptance hurts less than imagining a place where I don't belong. Fantasizing is dangerous. Hope creates questions. Questions create sound. And sound, for me, kills. As I gathered up the shards of the broken glasses, I heard the maids whispering. They said the king sensed something strange in the gallery. It must have been residual magic, or some ancient, barely contained curse. I continued cleaning. If anyone suspected what truly keeps me silent, no gallery, chamber, or ritual could contain what would come next. In the Northern Palace, no one needs to explain the rules. They are learned in the most efficient way possible, by observing who disappears. Maids who ask too many questions are transferred. Omegas who look the wrong way in the eye are reassigned. Servants who listen to what they shouldn't stop working and cease to exist. The one in charge here isn't just King Alpha. It's the council. Old men, full of titles and ancient lineages, decide what is acceptable, who deserves protection, and who can be used as a disposable piece to maintain order. The king rules the territory, the council rules lives, and I'm at the bottom of that hierarchy. I cannot leave the territory without authorization. I cannot form any bonds. I cannot refuse tasks. I cannot get sick. Plants that are created are registered as functional assets. If they disappear, No one investigates. If they die, no one asks why. Running away isn't courage, it's slow suicide. Furthermore, there is the pact. It's not written in any book, but it lives beneath my skin. A vow sealed by ancient magic, made when I still believed that adults protected children. If I speak, the seal will break. If the seal breaks, the curse will awaken. If the curse awakens, my brothers will die. It's that simple. That's why I accept cleaning what nobody wants to touch. That's why I pretend not to hear insults. That's why I survive small. That night, as the palace prepared to receive important visitors, I heard the announcement that made my stomach sink. The council will receive Seraphine from Aurelian tomorrow at sunset. The name echoed through the hallways like a warning. Witch, diplomat, possible queen. The seal on my throat burned, as if it recognized the danger before my mind could even grasp it. Seraphine's arrival was no accident. She came because she felt something, and when witches sense it, they find it. I lowered my head and kept walking, as usual. But deep down, I knew. The system that had kept me alive for 8 years was about to crush me. No one in the palace spoke the name of King Alpha as if it were just a name. It always came accompanied by titles, pauses, and excessive care, as if pronouncing it carelessly could attract something dangerous. The Alpha King of the North, the heir to the Crimson War, the wolf who never lost a pack. I listened to everything in silence, passing unnoticed amidst conversations that were never meant for me. They said he had ascended the throne too young, after the former king died too suddenly. They said that on his first full moon as absolute alpha, he faced an internal revolt alone and emerged unscathed, while others were not so lucky. They also said that he didn't have a partner, and that made everything unstable. An alpha king without a queen is a walking threat. Too much concentrated power. Too much desire surrounding him. Witches, nobles, and pack leaders saw in him not a man, but an opportunity. Some feared him. Others desired him. Almost all wanted something from him. Nobody talked about what he wanted. He doesn't look at anyone, a maid once remarked. He chooses when he wants, another replied. Or perhaps he never chooses. I kept walking, because I knew. She knew how his power manifested itself even before any order was given. She knew how to recognize the weight of his presence even when he was absent. She knew that when he entered a place, something in everyone changed, even if they pretended not to notice. The entire palace revolved around him. The schedules, the punishments, the alliances. Even silence took on a different weight when you knew that the Alpha King was under the same roof. And I was the only person there who never had the right to even imagine being noticed by him. This made everything safer. Or at least that's what I needed to believe. Because the man whom everyone treated as a myth, as an inevitable force, as political destiny, was the same man to whom my silence was connected. And when myths finally look at what they've always ignored, they don't save us. They transform everything. After the announcement of Seraphine's visit, the palace stopped pretending to be neutral. The changes began small, almost too polite to be questioned. My name, or the lack thereof, began to circulate more frequently. Not in direct accusations, but in calculated remarks. That maid hangs too close to the noble quarters. She's always been here, like a shadow. Shadows hide things. I started being reassigned to different tasks several times a day. I would begin by cleaning the West Wing and end up carrying boxes in the basement. Nothing was said aloud, but everything pointed to the same place. To tire me out, to confuse me, to make me make mistakes. And I couldn't afford to make a mistake. Seraphine's first official dinner. I was assigned to serve wine at the edge of the hall, far enough away not to disturb the guests' view. The other maids wore new dresses. I received a stained apron. "Stay there," the supervisor said without looking at me. "Don't cross the hall. Don't spill anything. Don't draw attention. Non-existence has become a task." Seraphine entered as if the palace had been built for her. Easy laughter, confident posture, the kind of woman who occupies space without asking permission. Eyes followed her. The whispers grew louder. She would be perfect as queen. Strong, elegant, powerful. Exactly what the king needs. I poured the wine with steady hands, even as I saw Kale approaching her. He didn't smile, but he didn't walk away either. That was enough. The comparison started there. Look how she walks beside him. A real witch. Not like those weak omegas. The king needs someone to accompany him, not someone to hide. I was close enough to hear everything, far enough away not to be included as a person. When Seraphine held out her empty goblet toward me without even looking at me, I stepped forward to pour her some. It was then that one of the ladies tripped over me. The wine spilled all over the table. "Useless," she said loudly. It's not even good for serving. The room fell silent for a second. Kale was there. I felt it before I saw it. The air changed. The bond responded with a painful tightness in my chest. I waited. A glance, a word, anything. Nothing. "Clean this up," ordered someone from the council. I crouched down. His silence was worse than the public humiliation. In the following days, false hopes came as small cruelties disguised as chance. A task in the royal wing, too close to his room. A poorly delivered note with orders that seemed directed at me, but weren't. A casual comment from a maid. "They say the king asked for someone discreet to organize his personal scrolls." My heart reacted before I could stop it. But when I arrived, Seraphine was already settled in, leafing through documents as if she had always belonged there. "Ah," she said when she saw me, "you can take this away." And he handed me a stack of useless papers. Small betrayals began to surface among the maids themselves. One hid my work tools, another accused me of delays that weren't my fault. The system worked like this. It set the weak to devour each other, while the strong watched. One night, I heard my name, or whatever they used instead of it, being whispered. Perhaps it would be best to send her away after the ritual, or hand her over to the priestesses. Silent creatures are great for testing. My stomach churned. I started sleeping poorly. I would wake up with the feeling of being watched. The seal on my throat throbbed more frequently, as if danger was getting closer and closer, ready to tear from me what I couldn't give. The worst moment came when I thought, for a second, that he had chosen. Kale entered the inner courtyard while I was arranging the torches. He stopped a few steps away. He looked around, and then in my direction. My heart almost stopped. "You," he said, pointing. I took a step forward. "Bring more light into this space," he added, then looked away. That was all. It wasn't about me. It never was. Seraphine appeared beside him moments later, touching his arm as if it were natural, as if her touch had been permitted. Kale did not turn away. And I understood. His silence was also a choice. That night, while cleaning a hallway no one else used by myself, I allowed myself to think about what would happen if I simply stopped. If you dropped a tray on purpose, if you took too long, if you spoke, the answer came too quickly to ignore. There would be no forgiveness, only consequences. So I continued. Small, silent, increasingly broken inside. Because some humiliations leave no visible scars, they only teach the heart to give up little by little. If at any point during this part of the story you felt anger, hope, or that lump in your throat, leave a like. It shows me that you're enjoying the video. The hallway was empty when she heard footsteps behind her. For a second, she thought about running. For another, she thought that maybe it was him. She turns around, doesn't she? But the person who shows up knows too much, looks at her for too long, says a short, seemingly innocent sentence, and leaves. She spends the rest of the day with the feeling that something has been noticed. The following night, she packs a small bag. Nothing elaborate, just the essentials. Documents, a coat, some hidden money. She rests her hand on the doorknob. She takes a deep breath. Before leaving, there was a knock on the door. She freezes. On the other end, a voice she recognizes. It's not him, but it's someone who answers to him. The message is simple. You have been called. She drops her bag where it is. The escape can wait. She shouldn't have been there during the ceremony. She knows that. Everyone knows that. Eye contact accumulates. Silent comparisons. Whispers. Then it happens. He enters. He doesn't look at her. He walks straight past. He chooses to sit next to his rival. But as he settles in, his fingers grip the arm of the chair too tightly. And for a split second, just a split second, his gaze meets hers. Nothing is said. Nothing changes. But something becomes different. Later, someone announces an important decision. Her name is almost spoken. The room holds its breath. It is not. Another name takes its place. The rival smiles. She feels the ground give way again. In the early morning, she hears a conversation behind the wall. Low, cut off, dangerous. Her name comes up in the middle of the sentence. Then, his name. She moves closer. The floorboards creak. Silence. When the door opens, there's no one there. Only the certainty that if she had listened for 5 more seconds, everything would have changed. And so the days go by. Always someone almost revealing something. Always an almost possible way out. Always a choice that seems imminent. Always the rival one step ahead. Nothing gets resolved. Nothing breaks. But the feeling grows. When it happens, there will be no going back. Nova didn't pretend to be mute just to protect herself. She was sealed away in silence because her voice is the key to a forbidden ritual. The truth? Nova was born as the bearer of the lunar word, a rare woman appearing every 3 or 4 centuries, whose voice activates ancient pacts that even the Alpha Kings cannot break. When she speaks under the moon, what is said becomes supernatural law. Not a promise, not a wish, law. What this means, and why it's terrifying. If Nova claims someone's voice, the bond becomes absolute, above any hierarchy. If she curses, no council, witch, or king can reverse it. If she orders the downfall of an alpha, his wolf goes berserk until it destroys itself. She wasn't raised in silence out of fear. She was imprisoned within it to save the world. The pact made when she was a child. The witch who cursed her family didn't want to destroy them. She wanted to control Nova. When he realized that the girl had inherited the lunar word, he cast a containment spell. Until you pronounce your true name under the moon, your voice will be sealed. If you break your vow, those connected to your blood will pay the price. Each of Nova's siblings carries a seal. Each seal is connected directly to her throat. One wrong word, and one of their hearts stops. The part that nobody knows, not even Nova. The Alpha King is her destined mate because only an ancient blood king can survive the lunar word. Any other man would go mad, would die, or would become a monster. Their bond isn't romantic in origin. It's a balance of power. She is the voice. He is the only one who can hear her without dying. Why has the witch returned now? Because the word is awakening. The mark has appeared. The king has begun to react. What if Nova reveals his real name? She will not be queen. She will be a judge of the supernatural world. That's the secret. It's not forbidden love. It's power that shouldn't exist. And now, the king is about to fall under a spell that only her voice can break. Nova realizes that there is no choice that doesn't result in someone being killed. That's the truth that crushes her. It's not about love anymore. It never was. It's cruel mathematics. If she speaks, they die. If she remains silent, he falls. For years, she believed that silence was strength. Now she understands that it was merely a postponement. She watches from afar as the signs of the spell appear on him, the restless wolf, the gaze that doesn't settle, the hand that trembles when the moon rises. She knows how to recognize it. She knows the symptoms of a slow death, and even so, it doesn't move. That night, she enters her brother's room for the last time. He doesn't wake them. He doesn't touch them. He just observes. Memorize. Because spoken goodbyes are too dangerous. The weight doesn't come as tears. It comes as an emptying. Something about her gives up. She accepts for the first time that she was born flawed, not cursed, wrong. Power that cannot be used is not a gift. It is a sentence. She writes, not a request for help, an authorization. A simple scroll, left in a place where no one looks for servants. I didn't run away. I didn't betray anyone. I simply understood that I cannot exist without destroying someone. Forgive my final silence. She doesn't sign. Names also have power. Before dawn, Nova does something she's never done before. She cuts her own hair. Short. Uneven. An ancient gesture among the bearers of the word. It means only one thing. Renunciation. Renunciation of the bond. Renunciation of the throne. Renunciation to be seen. As the moon begins to descend, she walks out of the palace, without looking back, without hope of being called. If he lives, that will be enough. If he dies, at least his brothers will breathe one more day. What Nova doesn't know is that this act of giving up is the exact moment when the world begins to move against her will. Because the lunar word does not respond to struggle, he responds to the delivery. And the king finally realizes that something essential is slipping away. He notices when the palace changes its smell. It's not a common absence, it's a rupture. The wolf within him howls, not from pain, but from error. Something essential was taken from the territory. The witch's spell tightens instantly, stronger, deeper, because the pact only holds as long as the bearer is present. When Nova crosses the palace boundaries, the spell goes out of control. He falls to his knees for the first time in decades. King Alpha. Kneeling. Memories that are not his invade his mind. A child being silenced. Blood dripping from living seals. A voice forcibly suppressed. He understands. He doesn't suspicious. He acknowledges it. She wasn't weak. She was reserved. She wasn't mute. She was locked up. And the bond, it wasn't dormant. It was protecting the world. He calls a meeting of the council in a state of collapse. It doesn't ask for permission. It declares, the bearer of the lunar word left this territory because we broke her. If she crosses the final border, this kingdom will fall. The word bearer provokes immediate panic. Some kneel, others try to deny it. The witch smiles. Too late. The king doesn't argue with her. He breaks the spell using ancient blood, his own, something that only kings of original lineage can do. The ground trembles. Ancient symbols bleed from the walls. You don't control her. You never did. The witch screams when she realizes her mistake. She didn't bind Nova to silence in order to dominate her. She tied her up to prevent her from being claimed. He finds the scroll. Read it once, twice. The wolf within him curls up. Not out of submission, out of absolute recognition. She was ready to disappear so that he could live. This is not a beautiful sacrifice. It is a silent condemnation. He's going after her, not with an escort, not with pomp. Go alone. Because what is coming now cannot be witnessed. When he finds her, he doesn't touch her. It doesn't claim. It doesn't order. He kneels down, the most powerful man in the kingdom, second only to the woman who never had a voice. You don't need to speak. I already heard. And for the first time, the lunar verb responds without sound. The bond is activated, not as possession, as acknowledged truth. He won't save her. He positions himself below her. Because that's the only way the supernatural world continues to exist. Thanks for staying until the end. There are always more supernatural stories waiting for those who come back. See you in the next video.